questions before we dive in? I'm waiting for Heather to join us because I have, she wanted me to go over something, but I'm waiting for her to join us. So has anybody got questions before we cover whatever I feel like?
Amy, I had a question on SkySlope. What is the escrow holder acknowledgement?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So on your residential purchase agreement, I believe it's the last page or second to last page now with it revised, but there's a place where the escrow holders information goes. So when you send that contract over to escrow, when you open escrow, the escrow holder will fill out their information. And then once they receive the deposit from the buyer, they will send over a deposit receipt and that page of the residential purchase agreement signed by the title company or the escrow holder. And that is the escrow holder acknowledgement, their signature on that page.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's also, like I said, when you usually get the deposit receipt at the same time.
Yeah, I think I got that because I got the deposit receipt and there was another page and I wasn't sure what it was. So I guess it's
You're like,
that.
What do I do with this?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I was just going to look and see what page that was. It used to be like the second to last page of the contract, but I think now it's actually on the last page. So yeah, so now it's on the last page. It's on page 16 of 16 at the very bottom. So both brokers or both agents sign, and then at the very bottom, it's escrow holder acknowledgement, where the title company will fill out their information and sign it. Like I said, they usually send it over with the deposit.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good question. Other questions? Melissa's smiling like she has a question and she doesn't want to ask it because she always has questions, but we like her questions. So
I don't have a question quite
now
yet.
she hit herself. That's what happens. Like, oh, looks like, oh, that's fine. I'll just take myself off the screen.
Yes, I'll disappear. But nope, I don't have a question quite yet. So I'm trying to think right now.
I don't have questions, but I got announcements.
What are your announcements?
Hannah has been so graciously to include me on 2 of her listings. So I'm co-listing with Hannah on 2 of her properties here in Vacaville. One in Sassoon and one in Vacaville.
Oh, that's exciting.
It is.
So you're going to be
kind of like yeah, I'm included on everything. I'm the one that meets them face to face. So I'm doing like the facial work and boots on the ground work. But she's doing all the difficult thinking paperwork work.
Perfect. The paperwork, the negotiation, all of that random stuff.
Correct. So I walk in with them already ready to rock and roll, and I just kind of point them in the right direction. I'm there for we need to put lock boxes or change signs or inspections or open it up for individual viewings and hosting open houses.
Nice.
Awesome. Congrats on that.
Yeah, great job. That's awesome.
Anybody else have announcements? Tara put her listing in contract.
Yes, I did. After 2 days, I wasn't expecting that, but there was an offer that they couldn't resist, so they took it.
Nice.
That's so exciting.
I know. I wanted to do my open house, but like, no, we want this. Just accept it. I was like, okay. I was like, there might be other offers coming in. They're just really were eager to sell. You know, they just had a price in mind, and when they got it, they were just happy. So
nice.
Awesome.
That's always a win, you know, because it is that, right? It's that like, well, we could get something better, but then what if we don't? Or, you know, and then if it's an occupied property, the inconvenience of having to be gone for showings and open houses and all of that. So there's, you know, it's always that push pull.
Yeah, they had like 16 showings in 2 days. So they were like over it already. They're like, no, this is good. So that was exciting. And I mean, surprisingly, knock on wood, everything's been running smoothly. So thank you for your teachings, Amy.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, knock on wood, it will just continue to flow smoothly all the way to the end.
hopefully. The other agent, the buyer's agent, she's good. So far, so she seems on top of it. So that's a plus as well.
Yes. Yeah, there's those listings down there in that Cordelia area. They just don't come up very often. So they snatch them up.
Oh
quick.
yeah, I'll be doing some door knocking. Absolutely. After that's a good area.
Yeah, and that's a way to capitalize on your listing, right? Yesterday we talked about lead gen, and one of the methods that everybody should be utilizing that doesn't count as a leg of lead gen ultimately is leads from listings, right? And you're like, I got cut short because I was hoping to get more leads from my listings by hosting open houses, but you could go door knock and be like, hey, we had 16 showings in 2 days. We took an offer well above asking. There's lots of buyers in this area. Have you considered selling your home, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or even if they're like, well, we're not really serious, but for the right number, we might sell. Just be like, hey, cool. What's the right number? Right? Because then you can go back and you can kind of keep it as a pocket listing. You got somebody in that area that is looking to buy. Then you can come back and be like, hey, I've got a buyer. They're pre-approved for the number that you would take for your house. Were you serious about selling, and can I show them your property?
Yeah, that's a good idea, because I have a lot of at least 4 other agents that were like, hey, if you have any other listings coming up in this area, please let me know. My buyers are very interested. So it's not even a lie.
Nope. Perfect. Yeah, that Cordelia area, because there's, we get people in Vacaville that are willing to commute to the Bay Area, but it's just that little bit further, and that Cordelia gets you so much more for your money than the Walnut Creek, Concord, Bay Area. So you've got a lot of people kind of moving this way from up there, and it keeps their commute reasonable. So
it's a nice area too. I never really went out there too much, but I, drove all around and explored, but it's very nice.
Yep. And it stays much cooler than this end of town.
Yeah, it's just windy. My sign was blowing all over. I was like, oh my gosh, this sign's going to blow off. I told my client, my sign blows off. Just let me know. I'll come get it. No, it was good.
That's funny. One way to help do that is a lot of times we'll take zip ties and zip tie the bottom eyelets to the pole, which helps it not to swing around quite as much. So I don't know if
that's a good idea. Okay.
You usually need 2 of the jumbo zip ties to make it all the way around, and you don't do it super tight, but just enough so it hangs straight. And when the wind blows, it just moves a little bit instead of doing the, swing action.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, that will be helpful.
Anybody else got questions? No? Well, I'll have to go over this again with Heather, since she's apparently not joining us this morning. I have to send her a nasty gram. No, I'm joking. But she had asked, we talked about on Ignite. If you were on Ignite on Thursday, we had talked about the contract to close process and how that integrates into Command, and how with Command you can edit the stages inside of your opportunities. And so she was just curious what my stages were, because she noticed that they were different than the default ones, and what inside of each, under contract and everywhere, what little. So I was going to walk you guys through that so that you could see what we've done. I'm going to share my screen. All right. Make this bigger. All right. So inside of Command, one of the conversations that we had during Ignite 2 is you can assign task lists to each of these stages, which is really cool. So we'll talk about that here again in a minute, because I know some of you guys, I don't think we're on Ignite, but here is for my listings. Here are my stages. I have in Cultivate. So these top ones, Cultivate, Appointment, Active, and Under Contract, and Closed. You can't change those top items, but you can change in here the little bubbles that you have to move it between. So I have I have A, B, and C listings. So this is under listings, Cultivate. I have A, B, and C. A is, hey, they're going to be ready to list here pretty soon. B is, hey, in the next 30 to 60 days, they're looking to list. And C would be somebody out further. They've mentioned that they're thinking about selling their property, but I don't know their time frame. So that would be your A, B, and C's. So that's how I have that. Again, you don't have to adapt to these. It's totally fine. You can have your own method and process. I was just asked what mine were, so I thought I would go into it more in depth with y'all. Under appointments, I have scheduled, pre-listing packet, confirmed, and listing agreement. So when I move somebody in from, I'm going to cultivate them and grow them and nurture them and work towards that appointment. Once I have that appointment booked, I'm going to drag it over into appointment to schedule. And then we're going to drop off that pre-listing packet here. So that's after that appointment scheduled. I probably could eliminate scheduled and just have pre-listing packet. We would go from scheduled because my next step is to drop off that pre-listing packet, right? So I'm going from nurturing to scheduling that appointment. I probably really don't need this. So I could probably take it out. If I go into edit stages up here in the upper right-hand corner, here's where you can go in there and add and edit stages inside of each group. And if I'm like, hey, scheduled doesn't make a difference, I'm going to take that out, delete stage. This action's irreversible. So now I just have pre-listing packet, confirmed, and listing agreement. So that's how I would move them through. Once I scheduled that appointment, they would go into the pre-listing packet stage. And could have a checklist here. So I have a checklist of 6 items. Here's how you edit that checklist. You just click on it. Pre-listing presentation, CMA report, seller disclosures, residential listing agreement, prepping your house to sell, and a little pop by gift, right? That I'm going to go drop by on their doorstep for them to prepare for our listing appointment. So if they have all this information up front, right? And so you can update that. You can reorder the list. So maybe if we want it in a different order, like the listing agreement should be in front of the seller disclosures, maybe prepping your house for sales there. And the pop by gift, maybe I want that on the top so that I do that first. So I put all those items together. As you do it, you can check them off and hit save. If this was an item that when completed, I would want the client to be updated on, you can click these little boxes here, which would then send them an email and keep them updated once a day on the tasks that have been completed for their file. This one wouldn't want the client update, but that task list is in there. So anytime I move somebody into that pre-listing packet stage, I get that checklist assigned to my opportunity so that I know what needs to be done during that stage. So you could take that transaction flow or transaction action plan list that we kind of work through that has the listing and the buyer, and you could put all of those items into each of the stages so you knew exactly what needed to be done each stage as you move through. So pre-listing packet dropped off, then I would confirm the appointment and then get a signed listing agreement or have a listing agreement out for signatures, right? That would be my next stage. So after I schedule the appointment, which would then trigger me to send out that pre-listing packet. Once I've sent that out, then I would move it over into confirmed appointment. And then I would move it over. If I didn't get the listing agreement signed at the appointment, then I would move them into the listing agreement, which would, hey, get the listing agreement signed, right? So whatever the delay was, whatever's causing that, that's why it would go into that stage. So we're going to go back to listings appointments. So there we go. We've got pre-listing packet, confirmed, listing agreement. So just so you guys know here, these percentages here on your opportunities, that is the percentage of likelihood that that transaction is going to close. So if I'm got an appointment scheduled and we're sending out a pre-listing packet, I have a 25% success ratio that actually is going to move into a signed listing agreement into a closed transaction. So that's what those numbers reference or represent. Once I am in listing agreements, then it's like 50-50, right? From appointment stage, I would go into, oh, look, Heather's joining us.
Question on the percentage, does that, as you're closing out transactions, like, does that change, or is that a number you're putting in? How does that percentage generate? Because I see it on my screen too. There's already something there and I don't have anything in there.
Yeah, so that's a number that you can just go in there and edit.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Good morning, Heather.
Good morning again.
Hey, I just thought I was just going to backtrack real quick. I'm not going to go as further into depth, but I was going over this because you prompted me to. So now I don't have to send it to you separately. I was going through my stages inside of opportunities.
Nice.
We're diving deeper into opportunities. So cultivate under listings. I have A, B, and C, which is listing under 30 days, listing in 30 to 60 days. And then C would be, I'm not sure when they're thinking about listing, but they mentioned listing to me. So these are who I'm cultivating or nurturing into a listing appointment. All right. And then under the appointment stage, we have pre-listing packet, confirmed, and listing agreement. So pre-listing packet is I'm dropping off that pre-listing packet or mailing it to them. Confirmed is I have confirmed our appointment and we're ready to meet. And listing agreement is, for whatever reason, I'm waiting for a listing agreement to be signed. Okay. All right. And then, so these, Melissa had asked, we were talking about these percentages, which is the likelihood of that transaction moving from the stage that it's in into closing. If we go into edit stages, here's where you can, if I hit the little pencil button next to pre-listing packet, here's where you can edit that probability of that listing closing. It doesn't update it automatically, to my knowledge. You have to go in there and kind of tweak it and update it as to what you think or what your success ratio is. So as you begin tracking all of your numbers and you kind of know like, hey, once I've got somebody with a listing appointment, my success ratio of getting it closed, or I have 50% of my people that I hand the pre-listing packet to signed this year. Right. And out of those 50%, X number closed, or like 90% closed, then that's kind of how you go back at the end of the year and you'd want to kind of tweak those numbers. Okay. All right. So now we're going to go back to appointment. We're going to move on to an active listing. So once I have an active listing, that means I have a signed listing agreement. I have pre-listing. This one can just get moved along. So to move them along, I just click and drag it through. So we have pre-listing. I have active listing. We're in negotiations, right? That means we're reviewing offers. And this legacy column could actually be deleted. So here's my 3 columns. I might add, like you might want to add a, price reduction column potentially, but I would just leave that all under active listing. But just so you kind of know, you could always do active listing like 0 to 7 days or 0 to 10 days. And then you could do active listing 11 to 30 days or whatnot. And that way you could kind of track it as you've got an active listing, how long it's been. It'd be really easy to glance at this and be like, oh, that listing's been on for a while. We need to make some changes. Or gosh, nobody ever gets out of, I've got it all under 7 days, right? So you could always, tweak it by adding more stages that way inside this active listing so that you could at a glance see how many days it's been on the market. Pre-listing might be like, you could also add a column in here. Pre-listing might be, hey, we have a listing agreement signed, but we're not like really starting the process yet. Maybe I've got somebody that's 3 or 6 months out. So I may want to add a column in here that would be coming soon, right? So I may want to add a coming soon column. So it'd be pre-listing and then coming soon, where I'm actively marketing the property as a coming soon, and then active listing, and then into negotiations. And again, you can assign checklists into each of these different stages so that you can see what's coming up. And then you can easily, like here, I could click on this checklist and see what's on here. So this would be like, hey, email 6 is congrats, your house is on the market. And I send out a copy of the active listing to them. Send list reports to seller from MLS, get open house feedback, input open houses into MLS, input open houses in the KWLS, set marketing plan into action, negotiate price improvements as necessary. That's what I think I just did that as an example of what could be in your checklist. And then some of these things you may want to be like, hey, we want a client update for open house feedback or whatever it might be. So you can turn that on and off. And if you toggle this switch, it'll hide any completed items. So you don't have to look at your completed items. I like completed items because it makes me feel successful when I see boxes checked off. Okay. So there's kind of the active listing, and you can move through no checklist for the negotiations. So there's that. And then as we move along, you can just drag it up. Now, if you'll notice, see as you watch the little hand on the screen, I don't know if you can see that because it's probably really small, but when I grab it to move it, my hand turns into a fist. And then as I drag it over the stage, my finger goes to pointing, which means that it's going to successfully move it to that next stage. If I go too high, it goes back to a fist. And if I do that, it's just going to drop it back. Oh, it still moved it. It usually has to be pointing. Otherwise, I spend all day just you know, I like drag it up there and then it drops back and then I drag and it drops back, and that's half my life. So anyway, so you can just drag it to the next stage, which would be under contract. So under contract, I have, hey, we're in accepted offer. Once we have inspections scheduled, I would move it into the inspection time frame. If we were waiting for the appraisal, you can move it into appraisal. If we were waiting for the financing, we could sit there in financing. And then once we're clear to close, we're here. So this is where you can assign those different checklists for each stage of the game. And you may just be accepted offer. I feel like almost breaking it down for inspections, appraisal, and financing might be too much. You may want to just break it into contingency period. So as they have like contingencies, only because I feel like the inspections and the appraisal oftentimes like move together, and you're waiting for all of those to kind of come back. And you can't put it in two at the same time. So this may not be the best breakdown. That's my point. But I would definitely have it clear to close, right? We're just waiting for it to close. Maybe you have like contingencies outstanding, all contingencies removed, but you're still waiting for clear to close. So, you know, there's some different options you can do there in this stage. As you'll see here that most of mine, once we're in accepted offer, it doesn't matter what stage it's in, it's a 90% success ratio that it's going to close. I would say for most of mine, I could probably change that to like a 98% success rate. Like once I've got a listing in the contract, it's 98% that it's going to close. Almost 100%, but I would be hesitant to put 100% on anything. Maybe once we're clear to close over here, you could change this one. You just go into edit stages, clear to close. We'd hit edit. I'm going to put 99%. See, I won't do 100. Sorry. It's not a done deal until it's recorded. I can't do it. All right. So that's my under contract stages. And then once we're done with that, we go clear to close, and then we would go closed. And then here's where post-close activities, asking for reviews, or putting them in my raving fans category, right? Like that would be asking for referrals. This legacy column, if you have it, that was a column created by command for dot loop, which we've never used. I was like, what is that program? But lots of other offices use dot loop. And so when they moved the from dot loop into command, they created that legacy column because that had something to do with dot loop. So you don't really need that legacy column in there. You can always delete it, but that's why it's in your command database, is because of dot loop. So that's my closed stages there. And then once we move it to close, see, now we're 100%. And where this comes into play is when you look at your stages here, see how it goes potential income and probable income. This potential income is, hey, if everything closed that's in your listing pipeline, 100% of items, this would be your potential income. And your probable income is based off those percentages on each stage and where the opportunity is at in your stages. So that's where it comes up with those two different numbers, potential and the probable. Okay. And then down here, it shows you that. Okay, any questions about my listing opportunities and the timeframes or the categories? I don't know what they are. All right, buyers. Let's go buyers cultivate. I have connect, nurture, 0 to 3 months, and 6 months. They're probably in the wrong order. I would probably want 6 months here and 3 months here, but I'm working to connect with them. Like there's somebody that said, hey, we're thinking about buying, or maybe they were a referral from another agent or whatever that might be. Oh, I was like, why? That's funny. These guys are closed. See, just back and forth. It hates me. It probably doesn't like that I'm trying to move them from here to there. So let's move them there and then we'll get them later on. All right. So if I'm trying to connect with somebody, referral, whatever it might be, another agent from a buyer, whatever, I would put them in connect. Maybe I had somebody pass through my open house that said they were looking to buy a house, and I haven't really connected with them yet, but I want to keep them on my radar screen because I know that they were actively looking for homes. I would put them in that connect stage. Then if I talked with them and they're like, oh yeah, we are thinking about buying, but we're not quite sure what the time frame is. We're not quite ready. Now I'm going to put them in my nurture column, right? They're not in the 0 to 3 months. They're not like in 3 to 6 months or 4 to 6 months. They're just kind of floating around out there. I want to stay in constant contact with them. We're going to put them into nurture so that I can continue to nurture them into moving a little faster along. Once I actually sit down with them and do a buyer appointment, I'm going to work to schedule that buyer appointment. I probably don't need scheduling. I probably could just go with scheduled and confirmed. I think that is, so we're going to go in here and hit edit stages, because I'm really working to schedule it in the nurture stage, the cultivate stage. By the time we move to buyer's appointment, it's already scheduled. So I want scheduled and confirmed, right? Make sense? Okay, and then once we have that appointment, we're going to move them over to active. In active, here's where we're getting pre-approved. We're searching or showing for homes. We're writing offers on homes. We're in negotiations. Right? And there's that darn legacy column that can get deleted again. So that's kind of how I move them through here. Now, if I've got somebody, we had the appointments, we met with them, at some point they want to buy, but they're on hold, then I bump them back. I created this on hold category. It's basically kind of like bumping them back to nurture, but they've already had the buyer appointment. I've already connected with them. We already talked about buying, but for some reason they needed to put their purchase on hold for some reason or another. So now if somebody decides not just on hold, but maybe they decided to go with another agent, maybe they decided they're not going to buy at all, then that's where you would want to go into, you're going to click on the opportunity, and we're going to click lost opportunity right here in the upper right-hand corner. And then you're going to hit save. That's going to track your success ratio. Like at which point are people falling out? At which point have you lost them? Okay. So there's those, let's see, they're under contract. You can see I keep everybody updated completely. All right, Tom Smith. All right, we're good. So there is how we track all of those items. Okay, I've got on hold, lender pre-approval. We're going to search, show homes. We're going to write offers. Then we're in negotiations. From negotiations, we might bump them back to searching and showing, right? If we go like, hey, we wrote an offer and now we're in negotiations. Now I might need to bump them back because we didn't get our offer accepted. And then we cry, we wipe our tears, and we bump them back and we start all over in that little 3-ring cycle. Okay, an offer not being accepted, that would not be a lost opportunity as long as they're still looking for homes. Okay, then from there we go to under contract. Again, under contract, we have, I could probably delete this under contract column and move it into inspections, appraisal, financing, repair request, and clear to close. So like these people are, they're just waiting. We're going to put them in appraisal. They're buying a new home. These people, they're closed. So we can just move them along. Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. Oh, and no. Oh, Oak Street. Hold on. I've got this. May 20th. All right. And then they closed. There we go. See, we've cleaned it up somewhat. We still have other ones floating around out there. So I would just move them along. We've got inspections scheduled. I'm waiting for the appraisal to be scheduled. We're waiting for the financing contingency or repair request. we could bump it in there. We probably would want to go in there and edit the stages and move the repair request above financing, because usually that's going to be somewhere in here with inspections and appraisal. So see, you can just go in there and rearrange those columns pretty easily, clear to close. Oops. From there, you go from under contract to closed. And I just have closed in here. I haven't gone in here and edited it, but this should look pretty close to my listings where it would have raving fans and reviews, right? As I'm working on getting those reviews and those raving fans. Any questions about my buyer stages? I feel like these are all, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, for appointment, what was the difference between scheduled and confirmed again?
Yeah, so once I schedule somebody, so I talk with Tara today and I go, hey, let's sit down on Wednesday at 3 o'clock and have, we can talk about what your needs are as a buyer and what the buying process looks like, answering questions that you might have, right? And like clear up any concerns. They're like, great, that sounds good. Now it's scheduled. On Tuesday, I'm going to call and be like, hey, I'm just confirming, or Wednesday morning, hey, I'm just confirming our appointment for, tomorrow at 3 o'clock or today at 3 o'clock. Are we still good? Once it's confirmed, I'm going to move it to confirmed.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Any other questions? I like that you can edit these stages, and I feel like it's always kind of in flux. I am, as you can see, not super consistent at moving people appropriately through my opportunities. I really truly should be in command on a daily basis, opening up my opportunities and figuring out who do I need to follow up with today? Who do I need to move forward? Where are we at, right? This would be my game plan for the day as far as active or potential transactions. This would be where my focus would be outside of lead gen. And I can just move them right along. And I feel like I'm constantly kind of tweaking it a little bit as we use it so that it does work and flow and function exactly like it is that I want it to. Yeah, helpful, not helpful? Cool.
Amy, that was very helpful. Thank you. But I do have a question I just thought of off topic really quick.
Yes.
It's regarding appraisal. So how long after you're in contract do they usually schedule that? Do they send me the information too?
So yeah, generally speaking, on most transactions, the lender's the one that orders the appraisal. It usually gets ordered within the first 3 days of the transaction. If I have appraisal concerns, oftentimes I will counter the seller or the buyer's agent as part of the counter offer that the appraisal is to be ordered within 24 hours of acceptance, just so I know that it's going to move along. And then depending on the type of financing, changes your time frames as to when that appraisal could be done. As a general rule of thumb, your FHA and your VA appraisers, you're required to give them like 2 weeks to get the appraisal in, although most are done much faster than that. But they have certain guidelines that you can't just like speed it through. So usually if it's ordered within 24 hours, generally speaking, the appraisal is usually kind of in that first week, week and a half. Like if it's ordered within 24 to 48 hours, that appraisal is usually done in the first 10 days, 7 to 10 days, I would say, if not sooner. Most of the time, the listing agent does get listed as the point of contact for the appraiser by the lender. But if you ever have questions or you want to make sure you're listed as the point of contact, just reach out to the buyer's lender and just let them know that, hey, just touching base, has the appraisal been ordered, or can you let me know and send me confirmation once the appraisal has been ordered, right? If you're on your game, day 1, you've got an accepted contract, or day 0, I would send the lender an email and just be like, hey, just touching base, reaching out to you, introducing myself. If you need anything or have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Please send me over confirmation once that appraisal has been ordered, and please put me as the contact for the point of entry.
Okay, perfect.
Sometimes appraisers will look in the MLS at what the showing instructions are, and they will just ignore the listing agent and follow the showing instructions. So if it says vacant, go. Sometimes they won't even schedule an appointment, which is really obnoxious. So we don't even know they're going to the property. If I had one schedule on showing time one time, and I assumed that the buyer's agent had scheduled it on showing time, but it was the actual appraiser went in and scheduled it on showing time. So neither of us were there for the appraisal because I was like, I thought you were going. I thought you scheduled it. And he goes, I didn't schedule it. So I should have confirmed it all worked out okay. But anyways, so yeah, just make sure I always reach out to the lender and let them know that I want to be the point of contact for entry to the property if they need to have an appointment.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I was thinking maybe it was like funky because we went into contract Friday and then it was Memorial Day. So it's really only been a couple days, like business days.
Business days, yeah.
And then there's no appraisal contingency. So would you still do an appraisal packet or would you just not?
So I do still do an appraisal packet for the most part if I'm concerned that it may not appraise at contract price. Even though there's no appraisal contingency, I want the buyers to feel really good about the property that they're buying. And I would much prefer that appraisal come in at value than it not. Because let's say they don't have an appraisal contingency, but they have an inspection contingency and the appraisal doesn't come in at value. And then they use the inspection contingency to cancel the contract.
Got it. What if there's no contingencies? You still do it?
Even if there's no contingencies, I still do it. I just want the buyer to feel good about
Yeah,
the
it's good
property they're
practice, but yeah, I just was curious. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if something happened and I just couldn't get it scheduled in a time frame that worked for me to meet them there, then if there was no contingencies, I may just be like, oh, well, have fun. Let me know if you have any questions. But for the most part, I still try to do the packet.
Okay, perfect.
Even if there was a high appraisal guarantee, I really want the buyers to feel good in it to be a winning experience. And I feel like that appraisal coming in at value, the buyer coming in with less money than the potential is, I think just sets it up for success all the way around.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, that was my question. Thank you, Amy.
Yeah.
Amy,
Yes.
so reverting back to command,
Yeah.
with the situation with me being on the shared, would that be like something Hannah would do? And then I would be able to see it because it's technically her client. And if she includes me as a part of a team type situation.
So that's a good question on a thing like that. I would probably still create the opportunity in command because it's still something that you're tracking. You want to track it. If you're, keeping track of your potential income and your probable income, then that's still in there for you to track. You're not going to do your demand in command, right? So that's one of the reasons that we put our opportunities into command is so that you can do the demand through command. You have to have the opportunity to do that. However, your demand should be done by Hannah on her command, but I would still track the opportunity through the process just so you're following it and you're in the habit of doing it and that just kind of following along and making sure that all the steps are being taken care of. But you don't have to.
Well, it's something I can track for myself wise. So,
Yep.
All right, I gotta go. I gotta go head to the office. So,
All right.
So you can do the opportunity all the way through, even if you're not doing the demand and command. Like you can do that.
Yep,
Okay,
absolutely.
sweet. I had done it and then I deleted it because I wasn't the first agent on that one. And
Yeah.
so I was like, oh, well then like you said, now I got to keep in mind tracking those, but okay, cool. So I can.
Yeah, and then for something like that, in fact, I need to do this. You would still, inside of here, if we go edit general information, somewhere in here, it's got your commission rate, like what your commission is. You don't have to put that inside the command. You can just edit that here. So if you weren't the lead agent and the one actually creating the demand, you could still come in here and put what the commission rate would end up being.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you.
And you could create the demand if you wanted to without actually submitting it to the market center to further update what that actual commission is going to be off that file.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Amy, I have a question that's not related to this.
Yes.
Just a hopefully quick question. Within the last 24 hours, I've got 3 emails inviting me to a DocuSign room. And I thought it was from Title maybe, but then I reached out to them and then I realized on the email, it says, the email is coming on the very bottom left. It says, Vacaville room. And then it says from Emily's email, like that K, whatever it is, that K email. I reached out to James and Emily. I haven't heard back anything. But Jen doesn't know anything about it. Title doesn't know anything about it. I've heard of rooms before, but it just seems kind of weird because it says Vacaville. It's like Vaca room or something like that weird. And I went into it like a dummy and used my phone, and it went like the automatic face recognition with my password. And it's like, your password is incorrect. And so I was like, oh crap. So I was like, maybe it's not a good thing.
So DocuSign, when we log into DocuSign directly, it's into just the regular DocuSign. The way that Command is set up, so if you were using Command inside of opportunities to upload all the documents and everything. So if I were to go in here to, let's find somebody. If I were to go in here and go into documents, from here, I could start a transaction. So we don't use Command this way, but this is generally how it does. So Command is linked to DocuSign and it creates the file in DocuSign rooms. So see, I've got DocuSign rooms here. So that's how it creates little subfolders instead of transactions, because we do it through zip forms, right? And this kind of creates the same thing here in DocuSign. So here's what that would look like. Here you could upload documents, you could add documents and do it all in there. So at some point you guys will be utilizing this. Right now we still use SkySlope because this just is not sufficient as far as the tracking goes when it comes to just the use of ease of use and tracking emails and such, but this is DocuSign Rooms. So if I were to log into DocuSign directly, you can toggle between regular and rooms. So I just clicked on my little bubble and then switched to rooms. So if you wanted to see if there was a room connected to you, you could log into your regular DocuSign account. And then here's where you could see any new rooms. And it is created by Vaca, California, Keller Williams Realty.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Yeah. So it was probably for some reason when Emily went in there to create the demand or something like that, she maybe hit start transaction or created something that way, which could be why it's in there, or somebody else did something like that. But that's how you could go in there and check what's going on.
Okay.
So again, I just toggled between here, my little bubble between rooms and e-signature. So we usually log in under e-signature.
Okay.
If you were like, oh, I really wanted to keep things nice and neat and orderly, then you could create rooms. And then instead of your e-signature showing up in a big long list, you could go into that room and find all those documents associated with that transaction. The way that we do that for the most part is we do it through zip forms, right? We log in through our car forms library. We send everything out through signatures through there. So everything has an envelope inside of that transaction. But that would be another way to do that, would be to use rooms.
Oh, okay. I see it here, but when I click on it, there's nothing. So that, I guess she probably just acted, okay. I was just like, oh shoot, what happened? What did I do? I was like, I saw, because I know you had mentioned that months and months ago about rooms on DocuSign. I know you did a video showing people, but I was like, that's kind of weird. And then when it went to access, it was like, no, incorrect password. So I was like, oh shoot. I was like, I just gave somebody my password.
You're like, I don't know. So if you are in DocuSign Room, so you could like start using this, right? You should be able to see from here, I can hit add forms and go to zip forms And DocuSign does connect to Zip Forms. You would hit the transaction that you wanted to connect it with. Let's see, these are alphabetical. Hold on. I think it's this one. No, it's not. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know what that file's under, but you would select the file and then hit link, or you could create a new one, and then that would allow you through DocuSign to pull the forms and stuff over. It wasn't function at the last, it's been a really long time since I've used this. The last time I used it, it wasn't when you created it this way and then sent it in for signatures or whatnot, it didn't pull like your templates and stuff over. So it just wasn't as user friendly doing it through DocuSign as it was doing it direct through Zip Forms. And again, that was probably 2 years ago. So it may be worth giving a try, but that's how you would use DocuSign rooms. You can use it as transaction management.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, but if you do receive an email and you're unexpected, then yeah, you may want to not click on it. Right. You've like verify with your transaction coordinator or with Emily or whoever, like, hey, did somebody create a DocuSign room for my transaction? Because I got an invite. It looks fishy. And then Jen will be like, oh yeah, I did that. Or no, we didn't. And then just leave it out there, delete it and call it a day.
I know, usually I don't, but it said like, it didn't say like it was going to log in or anything, but I think because I was on my phone, it kind of automatically just did its whole thing. So I was like, oh shoot. I was like, I thought it was going to like, because it was like view room or something. So I was like, oh, okay. Like at least it would bring me to the page. And then I always look, you know, like at the website, like what website is this? Or, you know, like, but no, this just straight went, my phone just took it all the way. All the way in. Okay, good. Well.
Yeah. Anybody else have questions? Anybody have topics that you would like me to cover tomorrow for training?
Yeah, how to organize a desk. No, I'm just kidding.
I know,
Keep
right?
it that way. And like every time I touch this desk to like get things in order and get a flow, I swear it just goes poof. And I'm like, what the heck is happening? And I'm a very organized person, people. So it's hard for me to just keep poofing.
Right. So how to organize a desk. We don't have to wait till tomorrow. You want to go to IKEA and get one of those like 4x4 cubey things, because you can get drawers and cabinets and cubbies, and then it doesn't take up a lot of space and it fits a lot of stuff inside those cubbies. There you go.
So what she's saying is take it all and hide it.
In an organized fashion, so that you know,
Okay,
like that's
okay.
my envelopes drawer and that's my thank you card drawer and there's where my extra pins are and there's where I'm going to find, right?
That's not a bad idea. Not a bad
Because
idea.
yeah, the desk, you're never going to fit everything in a desk, I don't think.
Yes. Yes. Awesome. Awesome. Well, cool. Well, thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow. If you guys come up with anything, let me know. Otherwise, look and see where you guys are struggling most. That's what we talked about lead gen yesterday.
I might have an idea if I
What's your
must
idea?
go there. Well, I don't know how beneficial this would be to everybody else, but I feel like I've been avoiding smart plans because I haven't taken out to do it. So I don't know if other people already have their smart plan set up, but I guess just like a easy way to set up a smart plan system, because there's so many different ones and I'm kind of like, which one should I start with? And
Yeah, let's talk about that tomorrow. I think that's a great topic of what touches should you be doing to your database, how to set those up on smart plans, how to tweak the smart plans. I think that would be a really good topic for discussion.
then it'll motivate me to actually do it.
Yes, and we're
Yeah,
getting ready to roll out a contest too, which involves making sure that your contacts have smart plans. So
Oh, all
you
right.
guys will look up.
I know one of the smart plans I've been struggling with is the open house one. So like, I know there's one like already generated in there, but a lot of it's like kind of doesn't fit in certain ways. And so like I'm trying to figure out like some of them I feel like I'm asking those questions already within like seeing them at open houses. So then I just feel redundant and almost like, well, is this lady not listening to us? Why is she asking these things again? So like that's where I've struggled with is actually getting an open house one set up so that way I can just set it, you know, on to do its thing. So that way I don't have stacks of paper. I feel like I'm like pushing those off because I don't have that next step that makes me feel confident. Like because the smart plan's on there. I'm like, I've already done all that crap. Like, so yeah.
Okay.
Great one, Sarah.
Smart
Yeah,
plans.
that's kind of what I've done is I've gone on there and I've looked at them and then I'm like, gosh, now I have to tweak it. And then I can work it
You're
around.
like, now I'm overwhelmed and I'm done.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Awesome.
Mhm,
Cool.
mhm.
Sounds like a
Thank
plan.
you.